Good people on the quest for good content. What's good? Welcome to another installment of Song of the Week. I'm one of your hosts, Bill Farrow, here with my co-host Jordan Bell as always. But we've got our first ever guest, another collaborator of the channel, David Grunfeld, good friend of ours, known him for a long, long time. Happy to have him. Dave, welcome to Song of the Week. How you been? What you been listening to?
Oh, boys, it's wonderful to see you both. Two of my favorite people in the whole world. It's great to be here. I've been well. I've been traveling for my day job a lot, so I've had lots of chances to be listening to stuff. And I've been kind of all over the map right now. I've been listening to a lot of La Russell, the Bay Area rapper and entrepreneur. He does a lot of things. He's a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like his energy a lot. I think he's super fun, and
I love that kid.
Yeah. He's got punchliney and like a super fun Bay Area way. He like gives me like huge like E40 energy and like his own kind of too. He really, Bill and I have talked about this a lot on our show, the Hit Cycle podcast, about how, you know, there's the big three in the Bay Area, I think, of like Too Short, E40, and Mac Dre are kind of like these huge. Of course, there's lots of great Bay Area artists, but those are three of the dominant personalities. And La Russell embodies a lot of those guys, you know, in different ways. So I've been listening to him a lot, but I've also been like mixing in, like, I'm listening to like Al Green a little bit, like some like 70s like soul kind of stuff. I've been kind of on a little bit. Yeah, so I've been kind of all over the map, but it's wonderful to be here. My song of the week is very different from both of those vibes, but I'm excited to talk about it and chop it up with you guys.
Good man.
Do you want to kick us off and go first, Dave? You want to give us your song of the week?
Sure. I'd be happy to kick it off. So, my song of the week is not a current or recent song necessarily, but it is a song that is my song of the week because since I first listened to it, it's been in my weekly rotation, if not my daily rotation of music, pretty much every day since, I would say. So I figured in a platform like this where we're sharing great music that's impactful, if it's not the most current song you'll ever have on Song of the Week, it's something that hopefully people will get something out of. So my song of the week is called Got to Be Mine by an artist called Vulfmon, whose real name is Jack Stratton, who is a member of a super great band called Vulfpeck, Vulpeck. So I highly recommend checking out Vulfpeck in general. I highly recommend checking out all of Jack Stratton's work. But this song, Got to Be Mine, is the first song off of an album he put out last year in 2024 called Dot, D-O-T. And I truly can't recommend an album more. I would almost, no, I'm going to say it. I'm going to guarantee that you're going to have a good time at some point listening to this album. In the first 6 songs, starting with Got to Be Mine, it's just such a great run and it's so fun. You know, it's just a fun listen. So I highly recommend it. Got to Be Mine, specifically for the song of the week, is the first word I would use to describe it is just beautiful. It's a really beautiful song. Not in like an orchestral, kind of like grandiose type of a way, but in a simple and satisfying way of being beautiful, where there's the singer on the song is named Evangeline. I'm blanking on her last name, but she has a beautiful voice, and she kind of just sifts right over top of the music that's happening. And all of Jack Stratton and all of Vulfpeck's music is, if nothing else, really funky. There's a deep funk that exists with everything. The bassist of Vulfpeck is a guy named Joe Dart, who's I think the greatest living bassist probably right now, or up there definitely. And Jack's music also embodies that. So the song Got to Be Mine has this groove, this funk groove to it, and then these like angelic vocals kind of just, you know, sift over top of it. And my favorite thing about it and all of his music and their music, but especially this song, is the way that things are layered and arranged where they just fit. And I know that sounds really simplistic because I'm not a musician, but things hit your ears in a way that are just satisfying. And then he layers things in. Like in this song, he throws in some flute at the end of one of the verses. And I would never have been like, you know what's needed right there at the end of that verse? A little bit of a flute, to do. But then once you hear it, you're like, of course, that had to be there. Like I can't imagine the song without that being there. And this song is such a great example of his ability to do that. And it's just so satisfying, leaves you with like a warm feeling in your chest after you listen to it, which is like one of the coolest things you can have art do to you, I think, in my experience. So Got to Be Mine by Vulfmon is my song of the week and has been for going on a year plus now. And I highly recommend checking out not only Dot, the album by Vulfmon, but all of his music and all of Wolfpack's music.
So Dave, you and I sometimes have this roommate telekinesis that's scary.
Sure.
I almost picked Game Winner by Vulfpack.
Game Winner is a great song.
That was
Yes.
as I was going through my songs to pick this week. That was maybe top 2, and I went with a different song. Thank God. But that's actually crazy that you picked that. That's incredible.
You and all three of us, Jordan, me and you, Bill, me and you, all the time. I mean, this is not like a once in a while, but I would say like once or twice a week, you and I all have some moment with each other. Well, we're just like, this is why we're brothers. This is why we're boys like this, because we all vibe on a similar wavelength, and Game Winner, that's a great example, Jordan, right? Because
I've been watching the playoffs, right? I've been watching a lot of hoops, and something in my head was like, this would be a great song of the week.
Here's a bonus Wolfpack cut for song of the week here, because that song has a great example of what I'm talking about, where that song is like a 3.5 minute, whatever song. It's slow. It's beautiful. It's paced out perfectly. And they do the chorus a couple times. And then on the last chorus, when they do it, I hit the game winner. Swish, there's like a swish sound that they put into that song. Yeah. And it's so good. It's so satisfying. And you're like, it's the game winner. Of course the ball's got to go in the net. Obviously, and then once you hear it, it's like, yes, they're brilliant. So anyway, yes, Wolfpack, game winner, all of it.
Shouts out to Wolfpack. That's
absolutely
dope.
That's hilarious.
Look at that. Dave coming in and hitting us with 1.5 song wrecks with the assist from J Bell. Just making the segment.
You know what you asked on here. You asked the talkative fool on here, so I'm going to talk. Absolutely.
For those of y'all who are seeing Dave on the channel for the first time, be sure to go check out another contribution or another living, breathing segment of the Good People Content Reboot, where these two basically tackle classic movies but build out prequels or sequels to them in their own and show off some of their writing capabilities in that realm. So
that's right.
Look up more David and look up more J Bell in a different realm, not just the musical one. So, Jordan,
love it.
As always, what you been listening to, bro? What's good?
Everything's good. First and foremost, cheers, brothers. I don't know if I'm the only one drinking, but I am definitely drinking. It's been a day. So, cheers. Man, I'm having a week, right? A lot of stuff at work. It's just been busy. I've been kind of all over the place this week, and my music has kind of been all over the place this week. As I said, I almost picked a song from Vulfpack, but I've kind of been in my lover boy vibes, if that makes any sense, right? I've just been into the soulful, sweet music, and I was going back and looking at some of our old song of the weeks and thinking about what song I should pick. And a few weeks back, I told this story about when I went to the Lee Fields concert and I saw the opener of the Monophonics. And I told this story about how awesome they were and how cool the band was and everything. And I recommended that everybody go check that out. And I still recommend that. The Monophonics are dope. But I didn't tell the other half of the story, which is I also got to see Lee Fields. And Lee Fields is one of my favorite artists. I think Lee Fields' album, Sentimental Fool, is one of my 2 or 3 favorite post-COVID albums. I absolutely love that album. And that's the album that he performed at this concert that we went to last year. And so my song of the week is going to be Forever off of Lee Fields' album, Sentimental Fool. And it's just a sweet, soulful love song of Lee Fields just explaining to a woman that he's going to love her forever. And forgive me, I'm going to sing a little bit here. Woo. This chorus goes, I want to hold you forever. I wanna love you forever. And I just absolutely love that song.
Yeah.
So much
we're
so that
gonna
we're
go-
getting our first singing vocal debut on the
Yes.
channel. Dang.
and I'm sorry to everyone because I'm not a good singer.
Don't
but I was
apologize.
feeling it
You
right there.
own
Never
it. Be it.
apologize. That was
But
great.
I love Lee Fields Forever off of Sentimental Fool. Again, that was one of the best concerts that I've ever been to. The Monophonics opening up, Lee Fields, the headliner. Me and my guys had such a great time at that show, man. And he did a lot of great songs that brought the house down, but that is my personal favorite, Forever, by my guy, Lee Fields.
Look at this. Look at all this culture
Amazing.
just fucking reverberating through the screen. I think that just leaves me. Yeah. So
Yeah, you're up, Bill. Tell us about your week. Tell us what you've been listening to. Talk to us.
yeah, I have a lot of reason for optimism. I think I've alluded to being in a little bit of a job hunt in the earlier episodes of Song of the Week. So started my first week at the new gig. Great company, great salary, the whole nine. So, reintroducing some of that stability, which is a great thing. The state of the world is in a weird spot, but I think a couple episodes similar to you, Jordan, I mentioned that I've been spinning What's Going On by Marvin Gaye a lot. That vinyl for me has probably been flipped 30 or 40 times in those 3 or 4 weeks. For some reason, I just keep playing it. It sounds so good. That's actually where my song of the week is going to come from. But just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what I've been listening to, TDE's Ray Vaughn dropped his album like 2-3 days ago at the time of us recording this. I'm going to call him and like Doechii third generation TDE. They're just doing a great job developing their artists, developing the next wave of hip hop and just other genres as well. In that camp, really inspiring stuff. Really visceral, hard hitting gut punch of an album. Like he is just talking about the shit. Like he was going through it, really giving you some vivid details about growing up where he grew up. Who else have I been listening to? Let me take a quick sneak peek at my recents here. Usually I have this off the top of my head. Oh, Chance the Rapper's Acid Rap was 12 years old yesterday at the time of this recording. That is
Even
like
better than I was the last
Yeah,
time,
always.
baby.
Always.
I'm good.
I have to cut in on that, Bill, just because when you
go
sent
for
it
it.
to
Go
me,
for it.
I said this to you, and I'll stand by it. Not stand by it because it's just my opinion, but for me, as a someone who loves hip hop, that was definitely a formative project for me, and like not because I was that young, right? Like I had been a big fan of hip hop for a long time by the time he dropped that. But damn, that was so different and such a whole new take on how to do it, and he was so in his bag, like just to the absolute maximum. I remember where I was the first time I listened to it. I was in Chicago, actually, funny enough. I was in Bill's hometown, just outside Chicago. And somebody played it for me and everyone was like, all right, you want to go? And I was like, nope, I'm going to finish listening to this album. Like I'm going to sit here until this is done because this is pretty amazing.
I'll meet y'all there.
Thanks for shouting that out. Yeah, I'll meet you later. Literally. Exactly. Yeah.
I had a similar experience with that album too. Like the sound was so different. The vibes were so different. His cadence and his voice, the combination of those two things were something that we had just never heard before. Like I absolutely love that. I still, if I'm on a long car ride, like if I'm driving back to Cleveland for the weekend, I'm throwing that on for sure.
Pusher Man, absolute iconic song. Come on.
It's a classic mixtape from the earlier phases of the blog era, which maybe we do another discussion on the blog era at some point. We did one on Hit Cycle Podcast, David and I. So go check that out if you just want to hear more people talk about music. But going back to Song of the Week, I alluded to it. What's Going On? One of the most important and the best made albums in the history of music. Usually I try to make the scope a little bit more finite. There we go, by saying like the history of English music, because I don't speak other languages yet. But this one is truly like in the history of music, one of the most important albums. The song is going to be the second one on the album after What's Going On, like the quintessential and the title track of the album. It's called What's Happening, Brother. And man, what I love about this record is that this is some of the most human writing from like a world-renowned celebrity that I think I've ever heard. Now, I've heard the song a bunch of times, but over the course of just flipping this vinyl over and over, this one just keeps coming back and standing out, and I just keep it on repeat on the phone. Couple things that really stand out, and I'll get to mainly the songwriting, but from a sonic standpoint, the African drums kind of bubbling underneath the bass guitar, kind of bubbling underneath, bubbling underneath these like somewhat semi-haunting background singers who are really talking about kind of personifying the feeling of the aches and pains and the turmoils of the time that we're very much seeing today. So obviously that album is timeless because these turmoils on a personal and a macro level are continuing for many, many people, which leads into the human dynamic that Marvin Gaye gives, where he's talking about, war is hell, when will it end, but also relating it back to very everyday experiences. Like, hey, is it going to get better like the newspaper said? Is our ball club even going to win the pennant? And so you've got this like real juxtaposition of macro level thinking, but also that human interest and that human connectivity that really makes you feel like Marvin Gaye was actually a shoulder-to-shoulder citizen with some of the people that he was singing about or singing for or talking to. And on like a grander scale, this is such an important idea that your artistry has to be from a real, authentic place. Your artistry at all times has to be constructed with care and effort and from a real experience that you have had. I understand we're in a time where people write songs for each other and ghostwrite for rappers and things of the like. But if it doesn't have a real personal connection that you can feel like it's coming from some segment of your lived experience, it's going to ring hollow. And that's why we have a lot of fast food music, and that's why we have a very bloated musical ecosystem. And this is just a great crystallized reminder on like how much you can say while saying so little, and just talking about how war is terrible, or I can't find no work, can't find no job, or just talking about your local newspaper and who's going to win the pennant when baseball was, more of a factor 50 plus years ago. So what's happening, brother? Marvin Gaye, my song of the week on one of the most important and the greatest albums of all time. What's going on? So that's me in a nutshell this week, boys.
Bill, another home run by you. The Marvin Gaye What's Going On album. So I'm thinking about creating this podcast, and don't step on this idea, people, if you watch this, but I'm thinking about creating this podcast where I talk about the music and or movies that my parents made me watch or listen to. Nice. And that one is on the top of the list of some of the albums that my mom made me listen to as a kid. Like there were certain albums that she wanted to form the way I listened to music and the way I interpreted art. And that's one of the albums that she played for me as she was kind of trying to frame that. Like, I absolutely love that album. That's a fantastic pick, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Agreed.
So look at that, Joe. Y'all got a whole new arsenal, new music, not just from our song of the weeks, but kind of what we've been listening to in general. You heard me babble for like 2-3 minutes. Jordan or David, any closing thoughts, any final words before, the master of the channel takes us out?
No, thank you guys for having me. This was a total blast. Great selections from both of you. A classic and two classics really, but great stuff to go check out. And Bill, huge congrats of course on the new role, which is very exciting. And yeah, I think we were saying right before we started recording, we've all had long weeks. We're all tired. We're all working really hard. But what brings us back? What centers us at the end of the day? The music, the stuff that we know we can go text each other about and relate over and bond over, or a line, Bill, like you're saying, that was written 50 years ago, but is just as, appropriate today as it was when it was written, which is bittersweet, in some ways. It's good and bad, right? So, always the best chopping it up with you guys. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Just a reminder that the playlist to this to the link to this playlist, I should say, will be in the video description. We're adding to this playlist every week. By the time you guys hear this, that playlist will be full of good music. Thanks again for watching. This is Song of the Week. I'm your co-host, Jordan. I've got my co-host, Bill, and then we've got our buddy, Dave. Dave, we appreciate you hopping on. Until the next time, man, we're out. Peace.